All right. Hello, everybody. It's Jeff Zito, and thanks for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast, streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And please hit that subscribe button. Would also love a 5-star rating. And if you could, please leave a review. If you wanted to check out some of our past guests and episodes, you can do so simply by going to celebrityjobber.com. And we take a little bit of a deeper look at some of these celebs before they were famous, like some early jobs they held and even their first job, and that big break, that moment that changed their life forever, which is pretty interesting because there was one of those moments for my guest today. His name is Wes Scantlin, and he's the lead singer of the band Puddle of Mudd. And he's got a very famous, big break kind of story that we'll go over today. And let me just say this about Wes Scantlin. He's a guy that's no stranger to the headlines. You can Google Wes, and a lot of stuff will come up. Some issues from his past. Mostly substance abuse and a few other legal issues. But the one thing that I got from doing this interview with Wes Scantlin is that he's a pretty nice guy. Sounds like a pretty nice guy. And I think throughout this interview, he kind of identifies what the problem may be. And he sounds like he's gotten things all together right now. So I'm kind of rooting for the guy. And like I said earlier, going a little deeper into Wes's life, I never heard before about some of the musical influences that Wes actually had in his family. So we're going to talk all about that as well. He's got new music out with Puddle of Mudd, and very excited to speak with him today. Wes Scantlin, lead singer of Puddle of Mudd, is my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
Jack?
It's actually Jeff. What's up, dude?
Hey, my manager, she's got a freaking coffee cup that says, "Jack got your back." And I was like, not for me, man, because Jack makes me pissy.
Well, you can call me
We're talking
Jack.
about Jack Daniels.
Oh, all right.
About you, man. We're talking about Jack Daniels.
Oh man,
I can't drink that stuff, man.
Jack Daniels is it doesn't work well with you?
No, and why? There's a reason that Jack Daniels and where they make it at is as a dry county.
Right, yeah. I often thought about that. Why it didn't quite make sense, but maybe you kind of are explaining it to a point where it does make sense. Yeah.
In Tennessee, I think it's Tennessee, right?
I think it is. I think it is
Tennessee, man. It's a dry county, but they have the distillery there that you can visit, which I've never been to.
Right.
But if I drink Jack Daniels, dude,
yeah,
this is gonna stink.
There's always that one, drink, if you will, that just kind of, it sounds like a good idea, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh no, all this stuff usually ends up happening once I have this, and it's funny. I don't know what the attraction is.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're my Jack, and you got my back. So,
I got your back. I got your back, Wes. It's been such a long time. I mean, Puddle of Mudd has been I hate to date both of ourselves, but I can remember such, early on in this business when Puddle of Mudd kind of came to the scene, and the lyrics, "I love the way you smack my ass," that was like a cultural thing. You realize that was like a cultural thing at the time. Those words were so risque. You ever think about that nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like I was dating this stripper, and I'd have to pick her up from this place in Kansas City called Bazookas, and so I'd go in the strip club before I picked her up, and I just see her like, and she lets some of the guys smack her on the butt on her little ass. So, yeah, so that's I just kind of wrote the song about her getting her ass smacked.
Yeah, that's got to be a tough thing. I dated one of those girls way back when as well. So seeing them at work when you're like, hey man, it kind of messes with your mind.
Yeah, you know what? It didn't really bother me. I mean, we used to tour around the whole country, man. Me and Kristen. Hi, Kristen. How are you? I haven't seen you for a long time. Thank you for letting me smack your ass.
It's funny, Wes. It's like all this time. There's a new album out, by the way. It's called Kiss the Machine. New single is free. I mean, and if you haven't heard this stuff, just think about Puddle of Mudd in their prime. I mean, it sounds like Puddle of Mudd. But it's funny, Wes, because I don't think a lot of people know who you are, like growing up in Kansas City, like your family, what you did. Like, when you were growing up, did you play sports in high school? You look like an athletic guy. What were you into growing up?
Well, I grew up on a lake, Lake Wacomas in Kansas City. And, I would like swim, and I played soccer like all the time. And I could have actually been like, I could have gone overseas, or I could have had a career in playing soccer, man. But I all of a sudden out of nowhere I got a record deal, and so that didn't happen. So
yeah,
God
so
was like, no, you're gonna be a rocker.
Out of nowhere. Tell me about out of nowhere. So where did the guitar and writing songs come from? It seems like you growing up in Kansas City, you're into sports, you're into soccer. How did all of a sudden music enter your life?
I went to a Van Halen concert when I was like 12 years old. Right. And I was watching, it was the Jump Tour, the 1985 Jump Tour.
Yeah.
And I was like, everybody at that point in your life is going like, what do you think you want to do with your life? And what do you want to do? And I'm just like, man, I want to do that. That looks like fun.
Right.
So that's basically how it all kind of happened. Thank you, Van Halen.
Celebrity Jobber. The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
Are your parents like musical people? Did you grow up in a musical household? Is this in the family lineage or no?
Yeah. My mom was a Patsy Cline impersonator, and my grandmother Flover, God rest her soul, she had an organ in the basement, and my mom got me a drum set and a bass and a guitar. Like I don't know. My mom helped me out a lot, man. She's crazy awesome. So
that is a cool story. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that.
Around about it. Yeah, like Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn and all these really great songwriters and singers. And my mom really liked that stuff, and she was a Patsy Cline impersonator, man. It was kind of cool.
So that's what she did for a job? She was a Patsy Cline impersonator for, that was her living? That's crazy.
Yeah, man, she would just do like a couple of shows with, what was that, Presley? I guess he's like a cousin of Elvis. And then they do like a variety type show. There's a Sonny and Cher act, and there's a Billy Idol thing, and there's a Patsy Cline thing, and it's kind of like a variety show. And then they do something in like Virginia Beach and stuff like that. And yeah, she just go act like Patsy Cline.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
So before the record deal, Wes, did you have any other aspirations? I mean, let's face it, being a rock star, it's kind of like a dream, right? People don't, aspire. I mean, people aspire to do it. People dream to do it, but it's a long shot. Let's just face it. So when, like, before the record deal, were you looking at doing anything else? Were you looking at going overseas to play soccer? Were you looking at college? Were you looking at studying a certain major?
I was physically and literally going down to New Orleans with my ex-stripper girlfriend, and we were picking her daughter up. And you probably know the story about getting the fake backstage pass at the Family Values concert. Limp Bizkit, Korn, Ice Cube, Filter. They were all playing that night, and I I just brought a demo tape and got to this man named Richie Cernsey, who is Fred Durst's like really good friend, and he's like the bodyguard supermaster of everything. And he's wonderful, and he got the tape. I gave it to him with a fake backstage pass, and then I said, have fun throwing it away. And then him and Fred Durst and a few other people, they had tons and tons and tons of records and CDs and tapes from all kinds of people, and they were on the hunt for a really cool artist. And which, you know, Fred has signed, like, you know, Stained and me and you know, and I don't know, that just, it's just incredible that they, like, out of all these things, they picked me, you know, so that was pretty cool.
I mean, and I have heard that story, but it's good to hear you tell it, because, you know, other people, there's a lot that could be lost in translation. But do you I mean, and you'd have to, right? Because I'm just thinking to myself, do you consider that your big break? I mean, that has to be like, that moment doesn't happen. Are we talking today?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure it happens to other people now. Like with these shows and stuff like Idol and you know, and what the talent or whatever, all this stuff. I don't really watch too much of it, but yeah, man, those people had some stuff like that happen too. I mean, it really does actually happen like that. It's like slam right in your face, and it's like, here we go, you know.
And do you now think about that moment? And is it ever happened to you where a kid's sneaking backstage and handing you a tape? And are you just that much more eager to maybe listen to it, give them a chance? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I get people giving me records, CDs, and stuff like that. I mean, there's not a lot of boom boxes around these days. I mean, there's not even a lot of CD players in any cars these days. So. Yeah, so it's just all internet. It's all the internet now. And
anything, you know, good? Have you heard anything good from anybody? Like, would you actually do that? Would you sign somebody if you heard something, you know, worth it to you?
Yeah, I mean, at least yeah, I would do that. It's, you know, it's a challenge, man.
Yeah,
and the record industry is definitely one of the hardest industries in the world to even get any type of love from. And, but you know, at the end of the day, you can always just, you know, write songs and enjoy being a songwriter and enjoy just playing music by a campfire or wherever you are. I don't care if you're on a gravel road. You can get in your truck, sit on the flat, you know, pull down the bed of the truck and sit there with an acoustic, light a fire, get some fireworks, and, you know, just shoot the shit. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
I think everybody dreams, though, of, you know, being a rock star and Jack Daniels and a stripper girlfriend. You know, I think that's a lot of the motivation. Tell me, is that all it's cracked up to be? I mean, you've been living this life for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do Jack Daniels. Sorry, guys. But I, you know, I'm not really down. I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with strippers, but my ex-girlfriend, she was a stripper, but she would get really mad at me if I called her a stripper. So she's like, I'm a dancer.
A dancer.
Wesley. I'm like, yeah. And she'd like kick me in the freaking shin. You know, I'm a dancer. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, they call them peelers in Canada.
There's actually a new song, I think, on your new album, talking about you're in love with a dancer. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. You always got to throw something in there for the dancers. And I've been dancing, and I've been dancing my whole life. I mean, I was a break dancer.
Oh, right on. Me too.
Yeah, right. It was fun, man.
It was. Looking back on it, it's a little weird,
dancing, but I still dance to this day. I love dancing. It really puts you in a good mood, man. It really does.
Tell me about your very first job, Wes. Can you talk like all the way back, Kansas City, growing up, high school? Did you have a job? What was your very first paying job? What did you do?
The first job I ever had was shoveling all the driveways on the lake when it snowed. So we'd get like, some of the cool people would give us a 20,
Right.
but we shoveled driveways for money, and that was my first job. And then I mowed lawns, and then I was also a cook at a little place called Hayes Hamburgers. That was one of my first kind of jobs. I've done so much different stuff. I mean, I was a door-to-door salesman.
Really?
Oh yeah, and for restaurants with these cards, and you'd get them stamped, and then after you went to this restaurant for like 12 times, you'd get like 2 free dinners or something like that. So I go door to door and sell these like little cards for different restaurants.
Okay. So it's been a long time. Any one of those jobs can you point out as your favorite that you remember?
I really enjoyed building houses. I was definitely like into carpentry and stuff like that. And I'd get up at like 5 in the morning, and I'd go to this, basically the foundation was poured.
Right.
And we'd build houses, man. I really, really actually miss doing that.
Right.
Bartending, I like bartending too. That was fun too.
Right on. Can you tell me how the industry, because you're just kind of hinting to it, it's a really tough industry. Being in the music biz, being an artist, traveling, recording. Tell me a little bit about how it's changed between the time you first got involved to today. Has it changed for the better or for the worse, or neither?
No, it's changed for the better. I mean, you got to grab your guitar, and you got to set up. Back in the day, we had to set up our own gear and stuff. So nowadays, we have an entire awesome crews we have a bunch of crews that are all technicians and stuff. And when we show up, everything's already set up. So the Dodge elongated Ram van,
right?
That was breaking down all the time. That I had to pack all the gear in to go to like these little podunk shows. I don't really have to do that anymore. I will.
Right.
I will do that. Believe me, I will. But I got my own bus now.
Right.
So it's nice, man. It's really nice.
You look back on those days, though, when the whole band's in a little van, and a lot of people think those were maybe some of the most happiest days because, there was just less of the machine, that you had to bow down to or kiss as the title of your new album, yeah. Kiss the Machine.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about that stuff, like, yeah, and it was fun. We had so much fun, before we even got a record deal. And it was we were partying, man. We were young, and we were having fun and partying and having a good time, man.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. Celebrity Jobber.
Wes, a lot of people read your headlines, but I haven't really heard a lot about growing up and what your life was like, and telling me about your mom being a Patsy Cline impersonator. I think it was really cool. You're a cool guy, and I wish you, nothing but success. Just an FYI, it was way back when, working at a radio station in Fort Myers, Puddle of Mudd came, and your son Jordan, I believe was his name, and my son Jacob were palling around the whole day. They were about the same age, and palling around the whole day and having a great time just doing bullshit, kicking a can or
that is so
whatever.
Cool, dude.
How is your son? He's got to be close to 30 years old. He's got to be a grown man.
Yeah.
Is he a musician?
Yeah, he's got a band. He's got a band called Grim, Grim, and it's really cool. It sounds like the Deftones. So if anybody's listening, man, Grim is a great band, and Jordan Scantlin is and the rest of his entire band are all cool, and they're just kind of grinding just like anybody else does. But yeah, I'm really proud of him, and he's going to be working. He's been working with me, and
very cool.
So I'm going to be flying him out really soon, and he's going to be basically working with me, and I'm going to get Grim on some shows, playing with Puddle of Mudd, and it's good because I've missed him a lot, and that's another part of the whole business that, you're on tour so much. When they got to go to school and stuff, so you don't get to see a lot of each other. So these are the golden years, man.
Right on. Yeah, it's got to be tough maintaining relationships, stable family with all that going on and traveling and the circus. Man, all the best. Man. All the best to you. Kiss the Machine. New album out from Puddle of Mudd. New single is called Free. And it was really great catching up and talking to you a little bit, Wes. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Jacob, I said, what's up?
I will.
That's what's up.
I will let him know, Wes. Thanks again. Take care, man.
All right, Jack. Thank you, man.
Bye-bye.
That was cool.
All right. It looks like he had a good time. Remembers my son's name. Met him one time, maybe, 15 or 20 years ago, but he called me Jack. So pretty interesting. It looks like Van Halen got Wes interested in music. But, when you think about the whole psychology of the thing, right? You're young and you have a dream, right? You want to be a professional baseball player. You want to be a rock star. What is it that makes some people actually achieve that dream and others not? It's the real passion. I mean, obviously people, they look at the fanfare that comes along with dreaming big and becoming famous. But I think there's talent and then there's, the level of work that goes into it. And for most people, it doesn't happen. But for some, it does. Wes is one of those people. The famous story going backstage at a family values tour in New Orleans. Like back in the 90s, he made fake backstage passes. Him and his stripper girlfriend find Fred Durst's bodyguard, Fred Durst from the band Limp Bizkit at the time. Just humongous, right? He was like, Limp Bizkit was this giant band. They were all over MTV. And Wes seems to find Fred Durst's bodyguard, hands him a tape, and says, hey, have fun throwing that away. Next thing you know, they're probably drinking in the tour bus. They put it in, hear some of these songs. They end up calling him, getting in touch with him, signing the band. It's like one of those dream come true scenarios that really happened. So, Wes was pretty adamant about saying, hey, this shit happens. So it's a really cool story on, how that happened for Puddle of Mudd. And what I thought was really cool, because I've never heard this before, is that Wes's mom was a Patsy Cline impersonator. He said that his grandmother also had some musical ability, played the organ, but his mother was a Patsy Cline impersonator and was very supportive of Wes becoming a musician. She said bought him drums and guitar, and so really supported his desire to become a musician. But I never heard that before. His mom was a Patsy Cline impersonator. I thought that was really cool. And this guy had a lot of different jobs before he became famous. His very first job, he said, was shoveling snow around the lake where he grew up in Kansas City. And he had a ton of other jobs, from mowing lawns. He worked at a restaurant. He was a door-to-door salesman. He said he was even a bartender, and he was like in construction and worked on houses, and says that was probably one of his favorite jobs of everything that he did before he became famous with Puddle of Mudd. And, like I said earlier, if you Google Wes Scantlin, you'll see all the headlines. He kind of mentions a few different times during the interview that Jack Daniels is not his friend. Looks like he's not drinking Jack Daniels. Maybe he's not drinking, but I think Wes sounds like, he's on the right track right now. And the phone call was a pretty early phone call, so I would guess that Wes is doing better right now. And like I said earlier, I'm rooting for the guy. He's a pretty nice guy. And his son Jordan in this band Grimm, which I checked out, and they've got some talent. So be on the lookout for them. As Wes says, he's going to probably fly him out pretty soon and work with him a little bit and maybe bring him out on the road. And like I said, new music from Puddle of Mudd off their latest album, which came out last spring. Album called Kiss the Machine. The new song Free. You can check out the new music video that just came out for that. A few tour dates for Puddle of Mudd this summer. And of course, you can check out their website for more details. That's puddleofmudd.com. That's mud with 2 D's. Puddleofmudd.com. There you have it. If it wasn't for Wes making fake backstage passes at that Family Values tour in New Orleans and sneaking his demo tape to Fred Durst's bodyguard, this conversation may never have happened. You probably would never have heard the song She Hates Me or Control or Blurry or any one of Puddle of Mudd's hits. You know, who knows? Maybe Wes would still be bartending or building houses in construction. That big break. That kind of stuff doesn't happen to just everybody. So thanks for listening to another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast, streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Would love a 5-star rating. And please leave a review. Follow on Instagram, which is celebrity_jobber_podcast. Also, youtube.com/the@celebrityjobber. And follow on Substack for more bonus content at Celebrity Jobber on Substack. Once again, thank you so much for listening. Happy Easter. And until next week, we'll see you then with another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. I'm Jeff Zito.